The drama surrounding Cathy Engelbert and the storm she's created inside the WNBA has become one of the most uncomfortable public moments in the league's short history. It started with a single accusation, but what followed was a slow-motion unraveling of trust, leadership, and credibility at the highest level. When WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert stood before the press to address the allegations made by Nafeesa Collier, everyone in that room already knew this wasn't going to be a normal press conference. Reporters weren't there for sound bites or small talk. They wanted answers. But what they got instead was a performance, a rehearsed exercise in damage control that exposed more about Engelbert's leadership than any prepared statement ever could. From the moment she stepped behind the podium, her body language betrayed her words. Engelbert opened with carefully chosen phrases about respect and growth, claiming she had the utmost respect for Nafeesa and every player in our league. She said she was disheartened to hear that some players felt undervalued, that she wanted to do better. It was the classic public relations playbook: soften the tone, express empathy, and hope that sincerity alone can erase controversy. But sincerity can't be faked forever, and by the second question, the mask began to slip. The question came from ESPN's Malika Andrews, who calmly asked what everyone else in the room was thinking. Did Cathy Engelbert really say that players should be on their knees, thanking their lucky stars for the deals she negotiated? It was the kind of question that demanded a simple yes or no. Instead, Engelbert gave neither. She talked about ongoing dialogue, inaccurate reporting, and emotional times. But what she didn't give was clarity. And in that silence, her credibility began to fracture. Every pause, every pivot back to safe corporate language, made the situation worse. The commissioner of a league built on empowerment and authenticity sounded detached, robotic, and mechanical. The players watching could feel it. Engelbert was speaking at them, not to them. Her tone was measured, even cold, an executive in crisis mode rather than a leader trying to reconnect with her athletes. The contrast with Nafeesa Collier couldn't have been sharper. Collier's words in her own press conference had been raw and unfiltered. She spoke like someone who had reached her breaking point. There was no PR filter, no consultant coaching her through every sentence. Just honesty. And it was that honesty that made Engelbert's performance feel even more hollow. As the press conference went on, Engelbert's composure started to look less like professionalism and more like avoidance. She leaned on the league's growth statistics, reminding reporters of TV ratings and new partnerships, as if the issue could be buried under business metrics. But the audience wasn't buying it. When she mentioned being a human too, even bringing up her children being devastated by the backlash, it felt less like empathy and more like an attempt to redirect sympathy away from the players and onto herself. That moment changed the tone of the entire afternoon. The WNBA commissioner wasn't taking accountability. She was positioning herself as the victim. When pressed again about whether she'd told Collier that Clark should be grateful for her off-court earnings, Engelbert dodged once more. She spoke about miscommunication, about how things get taken out of context. It was the kind of response that might work in a corporate boardroom, but not in a league where players are increasingly using their voices to demand respect. By the third round of questioning, the tension in the room was palpable. Reporters grew sharper, more direct, desperate for something real. Each time, Engelbert found a new way to circle back to vague talking points. We're evaluating, we support all players, we're focused on the future. It was like listening to an answering machine repeat itself while the house burned down. And then came the line that changed everything. "I've never been a quitter," she said firmly. It was meant to sound strong, defiant even. But to the players, to the fans, it sounded tone-deaf. Nobody had asked her to quit. They were asking her to lead, to take responsibility. Instead, Engelbert cast herself as the embattled executive, the misunderstood professional being unfairly attacked. It was an astonishing misread of the room, and of the moment. Within minutes, reactions flooded social media. Players who were usually careful with their words began to speak out. Lexi Hull became one of the first to post, echoing Collier's frustrations and calling for accountability. Her tone was calm but pointed. She didn't need to name names. Everyone knew who she meant. That's what made it powerful. One by one, more players followed. Aya Wilson, Elena Del Don, and veterans who'd seen the league grow from near obscurity to national relevance began to show solidarity. Coaches, including Stephanie White, chimed in too, something that rarely happens given their fragile relationship with league leadership. When coaches start openly criticizing the commissioner, you know something has cracked. The WNBA wasn't divided anymore. It was unified, just not behind its leader. The more Engelbert insisted that reports were inaccurate, the clearer it became that she had lost the locker room. Even her mention of Clark felt forced, as if reading from a script about how proud she was of Clark's transformational impact. The disconnect was obvious. Players were talking about fairness, safety, and respect, while Engelbert was talking about ratings and viewership. Meanwhile, the conversation outside the league began to shift. Media voices who rarely engage with WNBA politics began to weigh in. Stephen A. Smith questioned whether Engelbert truly understood the issues players faced. Dave Portnoy accused her of hiding behind PR talking points. The story wasn't about miscommunication anymore. It was about competence. Could Cathy Engelbert still lead the WNBA when the people she was supposed to represent had publicly lost faith in her? Behind the scenes, the stakes were even higher. Most fans don't realize it, but the WNBA doesn't operate entirely independently. Nearly half of its structure, funding, and oversight comes directly from the NBA. That means Engelbert doesn't just answer to players or owners. She answers to one man, Adam Silver. The NBA Commissioner is effectively the highest authority in women's basketball too, and when his counterpart in the W starts making headlines for all the wrong reasons, it becomes his problem. The relationship between the leagues is delicate. Both sides are connected financially, particularly through shared media deals estimated to be worth over $2 billion. If the WNBA's public image begins to falter, investors start asking questions, and those questions reach the NBA's doorstep. That's why insiders believe Silver's office has already begun quiet discussions about Engelbert's future. Not out of anger, but out of necessity. In the world of professional sports, instability is bad for business, and right now, the WNBA looks unstable. Even league executives understand the optics. Meetings have reportedly been delayed until after the finals just to avoid overshadowing the games. But the whispers are getting louder. Engelbert's job isn't just under review, it's on the line. History in professional sports shows how quickly commissioners can fall once sponsors and athletes begin to lose confidence. The league's future narrative, one of progress, empowerment, and growth, can't survive a leader whose own players don't believe in her. As this unfolded, fans began debating a bigger question. Who really deserves credit for the WNBA's rise? Engelbert often points to her business background and the sponsorship signed under her tenure. But critics argue that it wasn't corporate strategy driving the growth. It was Clark and the new wave of talent redefining the league's popularity. The fever surge in ratings, the sold-out arenas, the record-breaking viewership, all of it happened because of the players, not because of a commissioner's boardroom negotiations. So when Engelbert suggested that Clark should be grateful for the platform the league gave her, it struck a nerve. Fans remembered Iowa. They remembered Clark's collegiate dominance, the viral highlights, the way she pulled millions of new viewers into women's basketball before even stepping onto a WNBA court. The league didn't build Clark. Clark helped rebuild the league. To suggest otherwise was not just arrogant, it was ignorant. Now, the tension has reached a point where only one person can truly resolve it. If Adam Silver steps in, it won't just be about replacing a commissioner. It'll be about redefining what leadership in women's basketball looks like. Engelbert's missteps have made one thing clear. The WNBA can't move forward if the people running it don't listen to the people playing in it. For years, the league has branded itself around the ideals of empowerment and authenticity. But in this scandal, those very ideals have turned against the woman meant to uphold them. The players have made their message loud and clear. They don't just want growth, they want respect. They don't just want investment, they want leadership that understands the human cost of the grind. Cathy Engelbert may have helped the WNBA reach new financial heights, but she's also become the face of the disconnect between management and athletes. The players are the product, the heartbeat, the brand. Without them, there is no league. And right now, the people who make it all possible feel ignored. That's a problem no amount of sponsorships or TV deals can fix. So as the WNBA moves toward another CBA negotiation, the question isn't whether Engelbert will survive the storm. It's whether the league can afford for her to. Trust is the currency of leadership, and in a league built on unity and visibility, hers has run out. The future of women's basketball might soon rest in the hands of someone new. Someone who can bridge the gap between players and power. Because at this point, the players have spoken. They've stood together, publicly and powerfully, against the kind of leadership that talks about progress but refuses to live it. The drama surrounding Cathy Engelbert isn't just about one comment or one press conference. It's about a deeper reckoning with what leadership means in modern sports. And as the league braces for whatever comes next, one truth stands unshaken. The WNBA's strength has always come from the court, not the office. Do you think Cathy Engelbert should be fired? Should Adam Silver step in and reset the league's direction? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because this story isn't over. The next chapter in women's basketball might be the most important one yet.